Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. Those of you who are watching us know that on Mondays and Fridays, we happen to be on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, and my own YouTube channel. Those of you who want to make a comment or leave word tonight, please feel free to use streamyard.com/Facebook. This will allow us to see who you are. And when you do make a comment, your name will show up. If not, it'll just show up as Facebook user. Tonight, we have a very special show. We're talking about the upcoming Saenger Broadway Across New Orleans season, and also talking about the New Orleans Theater Association. Again, both organizations work hand in hand with one another, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what they do. And of course, I think most of the people know that the Saenger Theater is our crown jewel of theaters here, and the person who actually is in charge of managing, if you will, not only the Saenger Theater, but also the Mahalia Jackson Theater for the Performing Arts, none other than David Skinner. We'd like to welcome David to the group. David, thank you for being here with us. And this is the Ambassadors Group. It used to be Ace Theatrical, correct?
But
That's now
correct. Yes,
it's now called what, Ambassadors Global Theater? Is it
Ambassador Theater Group?
Okay, Ambassador Theater Group. And again, they have I've looked at the number of theaters. They have an outstanding number of really excellent theaters, not only here in the United States, but also in England and places around the world, don't they?
Yes, we have 40-some theaters throughout the UK. We have almost all the theaters in the West End, in England, in Britain, and we have theaters in Germany. We now have 10 theaters here in the U.S. In New York, we have the Hudson Theater and the Lyric Theater, where Harry Potter and the Cursed Child will be playing when it reopens from the COVID shutdown. But operations here, San Antonio, Houston, Detroit, and San Francisco.
Right. I mean, just it's amazing. And again, just to start off, the Saenger Theater, for people who don't know, has over 2,600 seats. That is larger than any theater on Broadway. The largest Broadway theater has 1,935 seats. That's the Gershwin, where Wicked is playing. And of course, the smallest is, I think, 535 seats, perhaps, for the Helen Hayes Theater.
Yes.
And those are the Broadway theaters. Anything below that number, below 500, is considered off Broadway. So those of you who wonder what does the term off Broadway mean, and anything below like 100 or so is considered off Broadway.
Yes.
So we hope that people will understand that the Saenger Theater here in New Orleans is a larger theater than any theater you'll find in New York on Broadway, and I think that's just an outstanding statistic. And the Mahalia Jackson, which has just a few seats less, also is an outstanding facility for us here, but a little different. It's a different kind of facility, isn't it?
It's the thought behind that when it was designed was it was built specifically for the performing arts, meaning the opera, the symphony, and the ballet. And it was built with those organizations in mind. It has a very large stage, which you don't normally find in a Broadway house. The stage at Mahalia is extremely large because when you get into the symphony, obviously you need a big stage. And when you get into opera, you need an extremely large stage because of the big props they have, bigger than touring Broadway has. So that's the primary difference of the design in that building.
Well, the Saenger Theater, of course, suffered during Katrina. It took several years to come back. I'm trying to remember, was it 2011 when you all came back, or was it longer than that?
September 2013.
13. Okay, so I knew it was an odd number. So 2013. So it took that long for the Saenger to come back. And of course, I think the opening show wasn't that. I know Kristen Chenoweth is in one of them, but
the primary opening event was Seinfeld. We had him for 2 shows.
Okay, and then of course, the Book of Mormon, I think, was the very first, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
Came in.
Yes.
So again, I mean, high quality Broadway tours. That's the stop for the Saenger Theater here in this area. And again, we had a lot of really great touring companies that were slated to be here. over the course of several years. We've had some, that come in like 2 years after they've been on Broadway, which is amazing. And then the Hard Rock Hotel has a bit of a problem. They
Yeah.
have that collapse, and part of their tower comes in and goes into your facility. And
Yeah.
what happens is Wicked, which was ready and set to establish a third record for no sales, etc. They were trying to beat, I think, Hamilton, come back after Hamilton had been in there, and they had got shut down. I mean, it was the first time I'd ever seen, a Broadway show on tour have to shut down. Maybe one night for maybe a hurricane or something like that, but not not the way it shut down. And it was out, packed up, and they were on the road again. So
Yeah, it was. We got through 1 week of the show until the Hard Rock came down, and actually we it took 2 or 3 weeks after the Hard Rock came down before we could get in and get their set out of there. But yes, we were set for a 3-week run, and we got 1 week out of it. So
yeah,
we're working on getting a return engagement.
opening night was Tuesday. The Hard Rock collapses on a Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
And so you had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 1 or 2 shows on Friday. I don't know if
One
you
on
had
Friday.
So that was it. You had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's it. And then Saturday you couldn't go. So again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the Saenger, but I want to bring in Mike Mitchell now. Mike is in charge of the New Orleans Theater Association, and Mike, appreciate your being with us as well tonight. We'll talk a little bit about what you do as well, but it's up to you to talk a little bit about what the New Orleans Theater Association does. I know what they did for me years ago when I was trying to bring in a group here of the theater critics of the American Theater Critics Associations down here, and we were lucky enough to be able to work with you and you were able to help us facilitate getting all the theater critics down here to New Orleans. And I'll tell you, there was a little bit of a rainstorm on, I think it might have been the Thursday or possibly Friday morning, maybe Friday morning, because they were here like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and they left like Sunday. I'm almost positive it was Friday. And I said, listen, guys, you've got to come with me to the Saenger Theater. Yeah, and what do you want to go see? Everybody I brought to the Saenger Theater, they opened their eyes up and their jaws dropped. They could not believe how beautiful the facility was. And these are people who are used to seeing major performing places in New York, on Broadway, et cetera, and other places, Lortz, et cetera, which are regional theaters around the country. And they were all struck at how beautiful and how well kept the facility is in New Orleans. So hats off to you, David, for all that you do. And again, Michael, the Saenger kind of has a relationship with you, does it not?
They certainly do. NOLA serves as the local presenter of the Broadway series, and that means we have certain behind-the-scenes duties that we do perform, and in exchange for that, we receive a portion of the profits of any particular show. But the key to what NOLA does is what we do with those profits. And specifically, we channel 100% of those back into the arts community in New Orleans and actually the greater Gulf Coast area. But we do it to support education and the performing arts and those sorts of things. We have a bent towards theatrical arts, art groups, but we define that very, very broadly. Everything that it takes to put on a performance, as we all know, is not just acting, but it's also set design, it's music, it's creative writing, it's all of those things. And we like to support schools and small theaters. We like to support dance groups, musical groups, anything that is related to the arts, including theater criticism, which plays a vital role. Let's face it, which is why we were happy to help your group when they came to town. That's what NOLA does.
Yeah, and again, I mean, March of 2020, we're all sitting around saying, "Well, we have to close down for a week or two, maybe a month. We'll be back. We'll be back by the summer for sure, up and running." And I mean, this was just the most amazing 18 months of non-activity that I could have ever imagined. I never would have thought. And then, of course, we just thought we were going to see the uh, the amount of cases going down around the spring or early part of the summer, and all of a sudden the Delta variant came and shot back everything, and then we had to stay down again for another several months. But now,
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I remember.
yeah.
Right.
So tell me, what have you all been doing in the interim besides twiddling your thumbs?
Well, I would like to say we were twiddling our thumbs.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge we faced, and I'll be upfront and tell you that the New Orleans community has stood behind everything that we have done for Broadway. We lost the end of the 1920 season. We had three engagements didn't happen. We were right in the middle of our new campaign for the 2021 season, which obviously didn't happen. So we had a lot of renewal on subscriptions there. And so we were honestly ready for the deluge on people wanting to have, I want my money back, I want my refunds. And I will tell you that the community has stood behind us. And I don't have the exact number, but somewhere around 4% asked for a refund. Everybody else said, just take our money, put it on the next season, because we know it's going to come back and know it's going to be a good season. So New Orleans has been very supportive of all the work we've done. Now, I will tell you that what have we been doing? An awful lot of work was, okay, we're getting ready. We're going to open in 4 months. Okay, a month later, all right, we're going to get ready to open in 5 months now. And that line in the sand just kept getting moved on us.
Right.
And I had furloughed a lot of our staff, and they're calling me, when are we coming back? And so we kept pushing that, that saying, we kept kicking that can down the road until this past June, and we started bringing staff back and getting ready to reopen the theater. We've had a few events in the Saenger, maybe 8 or 10 shows. We just reopened Mahalia Jackson last week for a comedian that had 7 sold out performances. So we're in the thick of it. And you're right. Who would have thought in the first week of March, when we had Jersey Boys, that we'd be talking 18 months later before the next Broadway show comes back?
So if you would, can you run through who we lost? Because I know there were several shows. We're going to get some of them back. I know Hadestown, we'll talk about a little bit, that I'd seen on Broadway in 2019, the best musical of 2019, fabulous show, and we'll talk about that. But they're coming back. But they're going to be, I think, in January now, as opposed to when they were slated for originally. Yes. I think they were. So who did we lose? What show did we miss out on seeing? Or
we lost Mean Girls, we lost Fiddler, and I believe it was Anastasia.
But Anastasia's coming back, isn't it? I thought that they were.
Yeah. Anastasia's coming back, and Mean Girls is coming back.
Yeah.
Fiddler, we're not falling in rotation on Fiddler,
right?
So it's not on the calendar this year, nor the following year. So we have to wait to fall in rotation when it's near us to fit in.
But Moulin Rouge definitely will be coming, right?
Moulin Rouge is coming. Yes.
Yeah, and that was what just won the essentially the best show of 2020. Even though it was a very shortened season, they only had a few musicals that were in competition, et cetera, because of the fact that not everybody was able to open before the pandemic. Moulin Rouge opened early. I got to see it in November of 2019. I was very impressed, but. It's one of those shows that is just so massive, and I was so glad to see that we were able to retain that. And Hadestown, and we'll talk about Hadestown too, because there's a component to Hadestown that, if you haven't seen it, really has a lot of the kind of music that we know here as traditional jazz. It borders on that very much so. And Anais Mitchell, of course, is the genius behind that, and developed it over a period of more than a decade. I think she first started back in like before 2010, working on this and working on it. A lot of these shows, you don't realize the length of time, the length of days it takes to actually put on a show. I know that one of the shows that was put on something. The two guys who did it are brothers, Kirkpatrick's, right? They both were from Louisiana, and they it took them 15 years to put that on. The same thing with the Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, which we missed out on seeing a tour here, I think. But you know, that was another great show, and I wish that we would have had a chance to see it. Luckily, Le Petit was able to show it, and we were able to get two of the people who were on the national tour to come in and fill in that. And again, congratulations to them for doing that. That was Maxwell Williams, who of course is the immediate past artistic director there. Let me just go in and talk a little bit about some of the shows that are coming up. Again, and I want to not denigrate what Mike's doing, but I wanted to talk about some of the shows first. We have several shows that are going to be on throughout the whole season, but we're really going to concentrate basically on the shows that are starting up this Tuesday night, coming up tomorrow night. Is going to be the first of the Broadway series, the Broadway Across New Orleans series. And again, is that brought by a particular concern? Is that Hancock Whitney or?
It's Hancock Whitney Bank,
Yes.
Broadway series, and it will run through the end of the current series, 21-22. Yes.
So let me, if I may, switch the logo there from the New Orleans Theater Association. Whoops, not the opera, the Saenger. Let's move it to the Saenger, and let me go ahead and talk about what's going to be here for tomorrow, and let's see if we can maybe get a couple of pictures, etc. Now, I got to see this with Santino Fontana, who won the best leading actor in a musical Tony Award for his role, and we have another fellow who's actually doing this. As I appreciate it, this is one of his first shows touring nationally in terms of his having a leading role. I think he might have done some other shows, etc., but this is the first one on a national tour basis, and he's taking on the part, of course, of Michael Dorsey, who becomes Dorothy Michaels. And again, those of you who saw the movie with Dustin Hoffman know probably the story, but instead of it being a situation where Michael Dorsey, the actor, goes on a soap opera, he actually deals with going on a Broadway show. And you can see a little bit of him in his dress there. Again, I remember seeing it on Broadway with the great Julia Stiles was on there. This is another actor, of course, in that role. And then the role that was done on Broadway was essentially the Bill Murray role that was uncredited in the film. Is his best friend who kind of supports him. And there's a little bit of a subplot there as well. A wonderful show, though. I mean, it's interesting that I was there the night that the writer who won the best Tony for the book was there, Horn, who had written, I think, with several people on Broadway. I think he'd maybe written with Larry Gelbart, and he's again a comedy writer, and he got credit for that. While we're about to show a video of Tootsie, I wanted to see what you all brought in the room. I brought, this is essentially a play on an opening night cocktail. Now that would be 1.5 ounces of whiskey, and I chose to put some 101 bourbon, I think Wild Turkey, and then a half of an ounce of dry vermouth, and the recipe calls for strawberry liqueur, but I went with a little cherry liqueur because I wanted to make it so I could put my little maraschino cherry in there. So that's what I have. It's another opening night. I won't call it an opening night, but I'll call it another opening night. And I don't know what you all brought in. I know, Michael, you had one to talk about. What did you bring in the room?
I do. I'm sure you know, Alan, and your audience surely must know that today is National Harvey Wallbanger Day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And so I have a Harvey Wallbanger, which is vodka and orange juice, basically a stinger, but you float Galliano.
Basically, a
the top.
screwdriver. A
It's
screwdriver.
Yeah. It's screwdriver
Right.
with
Galliano.
Galliano.
Yes, and it's a wonderful liqueur, but you better drink the Galliano within the 10 or 15-year period because it goes bad after that. I found that out the hard way.
As I heard driving home tonight, they were talking about today being National Harvey Wallbanger Day, and they were saying what goes in it. And they said, well, you can always find Galliano. It's the one all the way in the back with the dust on it.
It's also the tallest bottle.
The tallest bottle.
It is the tallest bottle that they make. I mean, I've never seen one taller than that too. So did you bring something in for us tonight?
Well, now I have to tell you, being in the theater tomorrow's opening night, I have to pace myself. So I'm waiting until tomorrow before I enjoy my drink.
Well, you know what? You're supposed to bring a drink, so go get some water or something in the meantime, because I'm going to show a clip of Tootsie right now. So I want you to go get something. So you, even if it's water, I'd like to connect with you liquidly, as it were. Okay.
Got
all
it.
right. Let's go ahead. I've shown you some pictures of Tootsie. Let's see if we can show a little bit of the Tootsie Tour, and we'll be right back. That's what you're going to see tomorrow night if you're in the Saenger, and believe me, you will not be disappointed. It is David's going to go get his.
He took you very seriously.
Yes. All right. I'm going to remove him for just a second till he comes back. Tootsie, absolutely a wonderful show. Okay, here he comes. He's back. All right. So I don't know if you get to see it, but there's a lot of moving parts in Tootsie, and again, we changed it from the soap opera on TV to a Broadway venue. Robert Horn wrote the book, as I mentioned, and the night I was there, I saw Robert and Santino. I had to wait about an hour and a half to meet up with both of them. They were very gracious, though, and I got pictures with both of them and several other members of the cast. I have to say, I thought that Santino, hands down, deserved that award because he was just so wonderful. And anybody who takes on that role really commits. You really, and they've got to be not only, the interesting thing is they've not only got to be a good singer as a man, but you've got to also have a woman's voice, but it can't be a falsetto. It's got to be a woman's voice that sounds in that same register as a woman would sing, who might not be in a high soprano, might be more in the alto range, but again, that you can carry the melody, and it's difficult because you have to together. And I have to give credit where credit is due. So that's the very first show of the season. What did you bring, by the way? Now that you came back, Coca-Cola.
Now you might think this just has Coke in it, but maybe I put something else in with the Coke. It's hard to say.
You know what? I never question. I always say. But if it's Coke Zero, it has nothing in it, though. That's the only problem. Anyway, we've seen the first of the shows. We're going to come back. I want to take an opportunity to look at some of the art groups that Michael has benefited with the New Orleans Theater Association. So if you don't mind, we're going to stick around. Let me show you some. And please, Michael, I'd like you to chirp right up and tell me who's who, because I don't know who all these people are. But again, I know that we're looking at a group of artists here who are all interested in promoting themselves, and they need help. They need financial assistance, etc. And you're the one who's kind of helping them along with that. So here we go. This is the first of the groups that we're looking at, And I wanted to just start in the beginning. This looks like a group of two guys. Looks like these are obviously that would be what, an oboe and a violinist.
A
Is
bassoon.
that a bassoon?
Yeah.
Okay, you never can tell how big it is. All right, bassoonist. So are these people with?
That is Lyrica Baroque.
Okay. So Lyrica Baroque also has Sarah Jane McMahon, who's in that group, correct?
Yes, it's Jaren Atherholt that I usually deal with, though.
Yeah. She sings a number of vocals in there as well. So let's see. This is another group that benefits from you. This is obviously a dance group, perhaps ballet. Is that what that is?
In this case, that is the New Orleans Ballet Association.
Very nice.
Yes, they had a summer camp that emphasized all kinds of dancing, not just ballet. Same group. That's also NOBA. That's a very artistic picture, I thought, too.
Yes. And now this is a youngster.
Yeah, this was fun. It was a group from I can't remember the name of the school, but it was an elementary school that was putting on Lion King, and they needed some support to go through with it. That's, in a way, that's one of our ideal recipients, is an educational institution that's got a drama department that needs help. And because we love the educational aspect as well as the performing arts aspect, but I thought that was a good, appropriate picture for something like this.
All right, and now two more.
Yeah, this is an educational class. This is, gosh, the name is escaping from me right now. Chris Kamenstein is the guy.
Chris Kamenstein?
Playwright. That's
playwright. Yeah, PLAY/WRITE. They put on their own original pieces. Yes,
and the group behind it is Goat in the Road.
Goat in the Road. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Goat in the Road.
And they help kids write short plays, and then at the end of the semester, they pick some and actually put them on with professional actors.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
really inspiring for kids.
It's a wonderful thing. All right, and the last one we have, this is the sixth one. We have, I think, 12 total. Now, what does this group? It looks like a jazz group. What they receive money from you as well, from the Theater Association?
They do. This is the New Orleans Traditional Jazz Camp, and we support them. We've supported them for a number of years. They have a traditional jazz classes all summer long. And they're one of our regulars.
That's wonderful. David, you're still with us? See, he's vacated the program. There he comes back. All right. Just check it. That's okay. I can't hear you though.
All right. I was picking up stuff from the other side of the office. Apologize.
No problem.
I'm giving the floor to Mike.
That's okay. That's all right. I just really wanted to continue where we kind of left off, but the Theater Association has been part of what you all present. You all have had this relationship for as long as I know. I mean, you know how far back it goes? Was it before you got here?
1985.
Yeah,
was when it started. We started out with the name Civic Light Opera, but it was the same group basically, and went through a number of identity changes in a way. We weren't really sure what our focus should be. And we ended up for several summers putting on a summer arts camp. And we really kind of soured on that for a couple of reasons. One, it's really difficult to do that well. It's really expensive. And there's an awful lot of people that do it very well.
Yeah.
And we thought, what are we adding to the scene? Nothing. And so we decided to, or not much. And so we decided to change our focus and become entirely a granting organization. And that's what it's morphed into. We've given away honestly millions of
Yeah.
of dollars. We're happy to say, done a lot of good for the arts community over all those years.
So every time somebody buys a ticket for the Sanger, they're essentially helping you do your work because the monies that are raised in partnership with the Sanger Theater go towards giving, dispensing to well-deserving groups in the community. Now, do you have a specific period that you give these grants out? In other words, if somebody is interested in perhaps trying to apply for a grant, is there a particular time of year that they need to have their paperwork turned in?
No, that's another thing I'm real proud of is that we try to make it easy on entities that want our help. Our grant application form is available. You can easily download it. It's not that complicated. We've tried to simplify it. We want to know a few basic things. How much money are you asking for? What's the cost of the project? How is it going to be used? Who else is funding it? A few pretty simple things like that. We try to make our decisions quickly. Almost all of the grants applications that we receive, we act on favorably because our scope, as I said, is so broad. Not everything fits into what we're trying to do, and so occasionally we just can't make a grant, but usually we can. And there is no season of grants. There's no cutoff date. There's no. We want at least a couple of months lead time. If you have a project that needs funding in October, we'd like to know about it in August. So that, but other than that, there's no particular deadline at all.
That's good to know because so many of the organizations that do give out grants have a specific time, and if you miss that cutoff, you have to wait a whole year to apply again. And
That's right.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
now
yeah. So,
the only limitation, if you can even call it that, is we try to make the physical grants, sending the check quarterly. So we don't do that every month or every week or anything like that. Even if your grant is approved, you may have to wait a month or so till the end of the quarter to get your money. But if you know that it's coming, you can still go ahead and maybe leverage the money with someone else.
all right. Well, that's fantastic news. All right, let's get back to the Sanger. The show that we mentioned first off that's opening tomorrow night, Tootsie. It'll be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then closes on Sunday. And
Yes.
then I believe next month in December we've got Cats coming back, right? That's going to be and again for
Correct.
those of you who don't remember too much about Cats, it's the show that Brian Batt was in many years ago. And again, it's going to be the Jellicle cats, et cetera, et cetera. You'll see all of the different permutations of McCafferty and Mistopheles and all the other, usual suspects, as it were. It just is a perennial crowd pleaser. And again, not everybody loves Cats, but most people seem to be drawn to it. I mean, it is the type of show. It has no real book in the sense that you could actually take the first song and put it in the end almost, and it doesn't really have a great trajectory in terms of a book that a lot of action. Some of the songs are sort of standalone, but the way it tells a story, it does have a story that ends, but you could certainly have that one song at the end and have other things in different order, and it wouldn't hurt it in the way that it's represented. So again, it's an unusual show in that regard. Again, it's a spectacle. It's a show that shows off a lot of lighting designs, costume designs, and of course the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber and the lyrics of Tim Rice, if I'm not mistaken. That
Yes,
was one
correct.
of the early ones.
Yes.
So again, the same team that brought you Jesus Christ Superstar and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and the same the same fellow who ended up writing the Lion King with Elton John and also what Aida. So
Yes.
Tim Rice is a well-established lyricist. People forget, just like Elton John doesn't write lyrics, so does Andrew Lloyd Webber not write lyrics. He always has to depend on other people to write those lyrics. So we may know Memory as a song. He didn't write those lyrics. Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote the music.
Right.
And all we have to keep reminding ourselves of that, because so many people think, oh, he wrote that. Well, of course he did. He wrote the music, just like Richard Rodgers wrote the music for all the Rodgers and Hammerstein
Roger
pieces and the
Hammerstein.
Rodgers and Hart. Yeah. So again, there are artists who have recognizing their own limitations. I think that Elton John is much better off with his lyricist Bernie Taupin than he could probably ever be writing his own lyrics. And I think the same thing with Andrew Lloyd Webber. He's chosen a number of people who write very well with him, and Tim Rice is one of the best. So those of you who are looking forward to seeing that, that's going to be coming up in December, and then I think towards the end of December into January. Is that when it? Or
Yes.
is it that we're going to actually
Yes.
start to see Hadestown?
Correct.
Now, Hadestown, as I mentioned, I saw Hadestown, and what Hadestown. If I could maybe give you a capsule rundown as to what's going on, just a quick summary. Okay, it's two of the mythological stories taken from the Greek mythology. One
Mhm.
is Orfeo and Eurydice, and the other is Persephone and Hades. And Hades, of course, those of you who know the story, is the lord of the underworld, and that's where much of the action takes place. Is in the underworld, which is the realm of the dead, as it were. And Persephone, of course, is the goddess, I think, of the sins or something along those lines, where she ends up essentially being captured by Hades for 6 months out of the year, and she's forced to go underground. But during the spring and the summer, she comes out, and which of course brings out all the growth of the vegetation, etc. At least that's the way that they have depicted it. Orfeo, and Eurydice. Well, we all know Orpheus. Basically, the parade that we know of and love. He's uh, a I guess he's sort of like he's not a main god, but I guess he'd be a lesser god.
Right.
And Eurydice is the woman he falls in love with, but she makes sort of a pact with Hades in this particular rendition. I think the Greek mythology says that she is bitten on her wedding day by a snake, and she descends into the underworld, and he never gets to see her until he goes actually into the underworld, being he's able to apparently do some of the things that mere mortals cannot. And there's a story about her following him out of the underworld, and that the one caveat that he has is, of course, that he must always trust in his love, and know that she's never going to not be behind him, and he must always know that she's there, and he cannot turn around and look for her because she will disappear. And that's sort of that part of that story as well. So you've got those two Greek myths together, but the music and the way that they've got the stage, the scenery is doing. This was just the most amazing uh, scene I saw on Broadway with the they have like a chandelier that comes down, and it's made out of all sorts of interesting designs, etc. I really can't do justice to it, but let me just show a couple of the pictures, and then we're going to take a little bit of time out to show some of the information that you've got in terms of video. But this is, I believe, that the gentleman there holding the umbrella would be the part that was played on Broadway by Andre de Shields, which would be who we would call Hermes or Mercury. He was essentially the messenger of the gods, and you've got other people on stage as well dancing. It's just a wonderful, joyous musical. There's Orfeo and Eurydice, and I believe the ladies behind there are the three Fates, again in the mythology as well. And one more time, another picture all the way on the right. You see Hades himself with Orpheus and the Fates behind, and then some of the workers who are living in Hades. Some great music, and again, dealing with some, I guess you might say, some pertinent questions about, why do we build a wall and things of that sort that a lot of people took to task in terms of maybe likening it to building a wall between countries, et cetera, which was going on perhaps during the time that this was being developed. So again, very interesting. But the music will get you thinking, gee, this sounds so familiar. It sounds so New Orleans. And it really does have that wonderful jazz aspect to it. They have the people playing on stage right there, with the players. So you've got the uh, in support of the actors, and the actors sort of in support of the musicians as well. So I really want to play a little bit of this video just to let people know what it's all about. And we'll be right back on the other side of this one. This is Hades Town.
All aboard!
Way down underground. Down here, hotter than a crucible. It ain't right.
Lover, you were gone too. Lover, I was lost. Think of it as my desire for you.
Show the way so we can see. Show the way the world can be. If you can do it, so can she. If she can do it, so can we. Show the way.
I'm coming away from me.
Show the way.
I hear the walls are beating. The falling of our feet. And it sounds like drumming.
Show the way.
And we are not alone.
Show the way.
I hear the rocks and stars echoing our song. I'm coming.
I'm coming away from me. I hear the walls repeating, falling off my feet, and it sounds like drumming. And I am not alone. I hear the rocks and stones echoing my song. I'm coming.
Wow. And it was the most distinctively different musical on Broadway. Now it won against a number of other really wonderful shows too, including the production that you saw of Ain't Too Proud, the Temptations musical, and it beat out Beetlejuice, which of course was also a wonderful show and a great cast, and it beat out. I'm trying to think of some of the other great shows but I mean, it was so distinctively different. The Prom, which again, one of my favorite shows as well. That season that I got to see it, but it was so distinctively different. It was so unusual, and the music just. Luckily, I listened to the soundtrack, if you will, the original cast. I've been listening to it and just fell in love with it. And I just said, this is something that New Orleans artists are going to love. The audiences here are going to fall in love with this because of the music, but also, we in New Orleans seem to know a lot about mythology. We seem to know a lot about it in our parades. What's going on. We have the Muses streets that we have down in past the Garden District, et cetera. So, it's something that I think is second nature to us more so than other places. And I just think it's sort of second nature to know about what's going on. So again, congratulations to that. And again, this is just the very beginning of the season. And we mentioned Mean Girls is coming back, but you also have Anastasia that's going to be here, and Hamilton. They're coming back again. Now, I got to ask, David, did Hamilton set a record for you? Did it beat out Wicked, or does Wicked still have the record from 16?
For a 3-week engagement, it's held by Hamilton. if you look at total gross over an entire engagement, Wicked still holds it, but it took Wicked 4 weeks to do it as opposed to 3 for Hamilton. So that's how we have to weigh that.
Yeah, yeah, but again, uh, so you're saying that basically it took him a little bit longer to do it with Wicked, but Hamilton was quick. So how crazy was it? How was your life when Hamilton was on stage and everybody was beating down the door? I need a ticket. Somebody needs a ticket. I mean, was it crazy, or what?
You know, I'll put it to you this way: when shows like Hamilton come into town, I get calls from relatives that I haven't heard from in 20 years. And friends that I thought had befriended me 15 years ago now all of a sudden want to be my best friend. So I'm seriously though, it is when the blockbusters come in like that, everybody wants a ticket, and so yeah, I have to judge just how many times I take a call on this thing. You know what I mean? So, but no, it's great. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, and again, had you seen it before? I mean, do you get a chance to see these shows on Broadway, or do you stay only in New Orleans?
No, I see him on Broadway. I see him here, and I can, people would be envious. We all have those certain shows we do like you mentioned, Hades Town and so forth. I am there during our engagements. I'm there for practically every single performance. And when a show comes in that I really like, I'll be honest with you, I may see it 5 or 6 times that week.
Okay. Well, who's going to tell you different, right?
I mean, it's for those fun shows. Yes, I enjoy watching them over and over. Yes.
And I guess there are other aspects to it. I mean, we talk about all the different shows that come to New Orleans, but we're very lucky to have the facility. And again, you don't have a control of it. I mean, the way that the booking gets done. In other words, I know that, for instance, the show that's coming in Tootsie is not an equity show, as I'm not mistaken. But there are a number that are. There's several that are not.
Yes.
How are the producers? How do they determine when they want to have a show that's equity actors and when they don't? Because I mean, I looked at the different list of different shows, etc., and it's very interesting, the ones that are and are not. In like, for instance, Hamilton is all equity. Tootsie is not. But I think Cats is. And
equity,
so how do you determine Hadestown is equity? How do you determine, or the producers, not you necessarily, but how do they determine when they want to go with a non-equity as opposed to equity show? And is that going to become more of a determination now because of the fact that they might be able to cut corners and cut costs, etc., when doing a national show?
We don't have anything involved in that decision. That goes back to the producers working with the Broadway League and determining when a show tours and what level it might be at, to whether it becomes equity or not equity. From our standpoint, obviously, I don't feel there's a great deal of lesser quality when a show goes from equity to non-equity. Now, I'm sure the folks who are in equity will probably sit here and disagree with me on that.
Yeah.
But there are some very fine people that are non-equity. We've had a lot of shows come through here that are great.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a good example. There are a lot of people who have actually started they're on Broadway now, but they started in non-equity shows, and they would not have gotten their opportunity to perform had it not been for the fact that they toured in a non-equity show.
100%. Yeah.
By the same token, there are some people who are equity actors that if they tour in a non-equity show, they'll get in trouble with their union. So
absolutely,
they cannot take those shows. So once you've committed to become an equity actor, you have to either commit the whole route, or you have to pull back and say, well, I don't think I want to do that. And I've noticed that a number of people who've been longtime equity actors locally have also started now to pull back, and that because of the period that we've just gone through, where nobody was working, not a lot of people were getting benefits from their unions, etc., that a lot of people who are in the union or who were in the union have decided that they're not going to be in the union moving forward. And again, that's up to them. That's not, anything on you or me or whatever. That's a strictly personal decision. But by the same token, there are some of our very finest of actors here locally, went that extra yard, if you will. They went that extra mile in order to be able to, to become equity certified. And, now there's perhaps some loss there that some of those people who were involved, may not be involved with that much longer. I'm going to ask you, David, just to take a little bit of a back row right now while I go back to Michael, because I want to get some more of the shows and the people that are receiving his largesse. So, if I may, Mike, please tell me a little bit about the groups that we actually have here. If you can tell me who these people, I know who that is. That's the NOLA Project. That's James Bartell, and that's obviously what Robin Hood or the Brigand, whatever it was. I think Robin Hood,
Brigand Thief.
The Brigand Thief, right? Yes.
Yeah, we're big supporters of the NOLA NOMA project, the project of plays outdoors in the Best Off Sculpture Garden in the amphitheater. We've done that for several productions now. Robin Hood was early on, and
they're doing it again right now. They're doing "Tell It to Me, Sweet." Now, was that one of your recipients too that you did as well?
Yes.
Okay. So again, now this is another group. I don't recognize them, but
well, this is from NOCA. Yeah, this is a production they did. I forget whether it was Thoroughly Modern Millie or something like that. But they do great work. We support them in 2 or 3 different ways. We support some of the individual professors, and then some individual projects that they do put on.
And again, back to some of the jazz artists.
Tipitina's Foundation. That's where that comes from. They have an internship program that we've supported 2 or 3 times over the years. That is Spider Queen. That is
correct.
Again
another NOLA project
right.
done in the Sydney and Waldo Best Off Sculpture Garden.
Right.
And what was interesting about that, if I'm not mistaken, was they actually used the sculptures that were in the garden. They made that part of the play so that they became part of what they were presenting. And so just like in Tell It to Me Sweet, they talk about the oak tree. They choose an oak tree to tell the story. I think it's just wonderfully expressive and inventive on their own part. And then again, this is another group. Is this Violet? It looks like it might be Violet. I'm not sure, but
this actually goes allied with this one. This was a play called Foreign to Myself.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
About
military veterans who have problems,
right?
Mental problems.
That was at the CAC, was that right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I didn't recognize it, but now that you mentioned it, I know exactly. Yeah, that was a few years back as well. Foreign to Myself, yeah. And again, I think it might have been. Was it Goat in the Road again? Or was it?
It was. It was.
Yeah. And then I think the final one, the usual suspects here. You've got James Bartell, Alex Martinez Wallace, and I'm trying to see who's that in the center. Well, again, another one of the NOLA Project people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was at NOMA, just like the
Three
other
Musketeers.
two. Right.
Yeah.
Some things are just unmistakable, aren't they?
Yep. And again, you've got Alex writes a little bit, James writes a little bit. So it's good to see that they're not only actors, but they're actually diversified in what they do. I mean, AJ Allegra has just been announced as taking on now a co-artistic director, and that's going to be Brittany Williams. And she was the one who wrote "Tell It to Me, Sweet." The first time that they're actually having a co-artistic director. From what I understand, they used to have an artistic director and then an associate artistic director. So this is the first time that Brittany is being brought in. You know, a lot of questions about what's gone on in the last year, aside from the pandemic. You know, of course, obviously, you know, we were talking about systemic racism, talking about changes in the theaters and in the hiring practices, et cetera. So we're seeing a lot of people who are becoming more and more involved, who are taking their place in the administration of a lot of theaters, et cetera. We've seen people leave several theaters. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Southern Rep at this stage of the game, because I know that at one point, uh, obviously, they've had some financial difficulties, and their artistic director has gone, and I've not heard of anybody replacing. Although for a short time there was an interim artistic director there, but I don't know whether or not anybody's in place there now. I know that they lost their place on Bayou Road, and apparently the consortium that owned the venue there, they've come to an agreement where they're not going to be staying there any longer. That's not going to be their facility. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with them, but again, changes are going there, and we don't know whether or not that's going to survive. We hope that, obviously, that was our main theater that did the National New Play Network, and I don't know that there's another one that's going to step up and be able to fill in that gap in the interim. So we'll have to see what goes on. But you know, the work you all are doing, you know, with the Saenger and these grants is necessary for us to continue where we are. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say we've supported Southern Rep a couple of times over the years, but I think the last time they even asked us for anything was August Osage County, which was, several years ago.
And a fabulous cast, you know, just a top notch cast that they did. You know, they didn't do anything, you know, without really pulling out all the punches. I mean, I was very impressed with a lot of the stuff that they did. Again, you know, there were problems associated with some of the productions. Several people who were critical of their hiring practices, et cetera. You know, got a number of opportunities to take shots at them. But you know, in terms of their importance in New Orleans, you know, I don't know who would replace them at this stage of the game, because there's really
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people doing a lot of shows, but nobody is really doing those new plays that are coming around. That you know, we need, you know, the Lucas Nath plays, et cetera. You know, that are playing on Broadway now, that are just coming out, or you know, the plays that that might have bowed on Broadway a few years ago and are too small to be brought to the Saenger. You know, they're really designed for smaller houses, and who's going to put them on? You know that. So I have to say that I hope that you know, we don't lose anybody, and it's my hope that all of the theaters survive. But we know, of course, that change is always ever present, and these are the things that occur. Sometimes it's a matter of personalities. Sometimes it's a matter of necessary change because of problems associated with personalities. So you know, we will see what happens. But I hope that we all can come together. I'm not expecting everybody to get around the campfire and sing "Kumbaya." I understand that there's going to be some pushback about some of the past, but hopefully theater will bounce back, because we've had a very tough time. And I think that you know, kudos to you, David and Mike, for being there, making sure that the Saenger continues to do what it's doing, making sure that the smaller organizations that depend on your largesse, you know, are still receiving those grants, and that New Orleans is still getting its share of notoriety, or if you want to say, you know, glory, in terms of its ability to put on darn good theater. You know, this is not a big town like Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, but we do a pretty darn good job of putting on theater. And again, I think that the pieces that we'll be putting on as we move forward may become, more concerned with some of the social ills. But that nevertheless does not mean that we can't still put on really great theater and make people happy. This is entertainment for the masses that we are really looking forward to, especially after this pandemic that we've all endured and hopefully are about to emerge from. So with that, I'm gonna just ask you all to stick around for a little bit while I say goodbye to everybody. I want to thank David Skinner for being with us tonight, and again, Mike Mitchell, thank you for being with us. And again, those of you who are knowing what's going on, my name is Alan Smason, and again, this has been NOLA Theater Talk. We have this show on Mondays and occasionally on Fridays when there's not a show that I have to go see. We broadcast to the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, not the theatercriticism.com web, and also my channel. So again, on behalf of David Skinner, Mike Mitchell, and myself, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and I will see you at the theater.